Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that. Animation and video games. Big yawn from Michael. Energy. Here we go.
Wow.
Here we go.
Here we go.
A month off, and he's coming with the fire.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, this is our...
Berardini.
Yeah, Michael Berardini. He's a Blue Sky animator. Yeah. And then way out in Bumfuck, Egypt, is Paquette.
Yep, that is correct.
And this is our episode for August of 2018. Another look back at some of the best tips ever of the JAFMM podcast.
Yeah.
You would think, based on our download numbers on that last one.
Yeah, so... go ahead, Pete.
We did excerpts from, I believe, 13 episodes. And now you're going to hear the next probably 10 to 15. So
yeah, so...
we're going to figure it out as we go.
Can you see these reactions?
Reactions to what?
On my video. There's a guy slow clapping.
Oh, yes. I can see it. I'm sure that is being recorded. Nice.
Yeah, great.
For those of you watching YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, so our that was one of our most successful episodes. So if you are listening to this to get some more tips, please try to share it. Anybody from Animation Mentor? Anybody want to post it on a thread or something? Maybe. I don't know, something. And then maybe, if you let it
sound desperate.
Okay, I'm not desperate, I guess. No, I'm not.
Nah, you guess.
But I would like people to give the other episodes a chance. So if you like this episode, give our next one, our September one. But anyways, each animation episode usually does begin with an animation tip. We're going to forego that on this one because we have a whole bunch coming through the entire episode. Otherwise, we talk about video games because Pete is a veteran of the animation and video game industry.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of news somewhat. I don't know. There's, at least animation-wise, there's been big news for the both of us, Pete. The wage fixing scandal thing. What is it? Lawsuit? Whatever.
Yeah.
Class action lawsuit. After years and years of talk about it, it finally paid out a few weeks ago for everybody part of the class. So that was
give some context. What about if people don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it was a class action lawsuit brought against, at the beginning, mainly Industrial Light and Magic and Pixar. And then through, people naming names and investigations, it brought in DreamWorks along with it, and Blue Sky and Sony. And there was one other company, but they were like more of a minor player. And a lot of the companies, I think Fox Blue Sky was one of the first ones that just settled. So they wrote a settlement that said they take no responsibility for it. There's no admission of guilt, but they did go ahead and give several $1 million. I forget the number. I thought it was 10, but don't quote me on that. I can't remember. And then Disney fought a lot longer, but eventually that ended as well. So after years and years of this, we finally got little paychecks in the mail to try to make up for what was supposed to be HR, basically having a nice, I don't know, what do you call it, deal not to poach each other's animators and to be able to try to suppress their wages throughout the entire...
So there's no threaten of people being like, well, I'm going to go over here and get this much money. So they wanted to avoid that, so...
Yeah, so they're trying to suppress the entire industry's wages by basically, not poaching.
Yeah. So
you guys got a good amount of cash.
Yeah, it worked out.
Well, that was the other thing.
It was like getting free money, honestly.
Yeah, because I didn't expect it. I certainly didn't. I mean, I've talked to people all over, and the amount of money, how much people got, is all over the map. It'd be nice if, when the check came, it explained to you why you got the money you did. Yeah. What group you belong to, why yours was so little or so much compared to other people. Here's the calculation, but I guess it's a little difficult to do.
So it was really that wide of a... I wonder if it has to do with like how long you were there during that bracket of time.
A person that was at Blue Sky the exact time as you, Pete, who is still there without naming names, got less than 2,000.
What?
Yeah. So
I feel bad.
it goes way up from there. So it's all over the map in terms of being a couple $100. I know a person that got like under $100. I know people that got, way over $10,000. So it's all over the place. So
I didn't get anything.
yeah, that was you're loving these emojis. That's the other part of the deal.
Don't be a downer, man. Come on.
It was to a specific time period. I believe 2005 to 2010, 11. Was that it?
Yeah.
I think I missed it by like a year or something.
Yeah. Oddly enough, my wife was part of the class as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. 'Cause she wasn't part of recruiting at Disney at the time. She's part of like talent development and that kind of thing, I believe. I should know the exact. I should know that better.
Jeffrey.
She was at Disney. I know that.
One of the listeners that we lost a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, so video game part. Are we done with that part? Are we good?
Yeah.
That
was an interesting little bit of closure. So
yeah, that's cool. I mean, one last thing. If you really take it into account of what the wage fixing is standing for, obviously we didn't even get remotely the money that the entire industry lost. Like in the long run, if it is like true, like the wage fixing happened, the studios made out like bandits. Like they basically just suppressed wages, and the salaries that there are now are still a result of that. It's not like all of a sudden everybody got it paying.
Yeah. So like it's also that like that culmination over the years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh well. I think it mainly all goes back to just some emails from Ed Catmull, right? Where he was pretty adamant about this being the way to make movies that this is like he thought this was like a protection of our industry. Otherwise, it would just end up getting outsourced or get too expensive. So those were pretty damning emails.
Yeah. That's crazy.
In other news, any video games you guys are playing?
Well,
Pete?
I got this nice little box in the mail.
Oh, a box.
I'm gonna show you. This is the Retron 77. And what this does is it there's no operating system, Jeff, so it's not like the Retron 5 at all. It's just
it's not it's not an emulator machine?
It is.
Oh.
But it's basically everything's analog. So like the save buttons are up here, the save state buttons and all that stuff are all down here.
Oh wow.
All your aspect ratio buttons and stuff are on the back. It's really just you play it one way and you have a few things to fiddle with, kind of a lot like the old 2600. So anyway, what this is it plays old 2600 games, the actual cartridges. And I've been having a swell time with this since I got it.
It honestly makes me want to go to the next video game convention and just raid it for old Atari games because they're dirt cheap right now.
Oh, yeah.
There were people at the last convention we went to in October that people weren't even bringing their boxes of Atari games out because they were just like, it would just be a waste of space for them. Like they were giving them away for pennies. It's crazy. Yeah. So if you're going to collect anything, Atari's a good thing to collect right now.
Yeah.
Is it going to go up in value at all anytime
soon? I kind of doubt it. I feel like I don't know if Genesis or NES is going to go that way, but if you think about the age, right? Like people that get really into like wanting to recollect for their childhood, like the Atari that generation's getting a little bit older and maybe getting out of that, the collecting.
So you're thinking it's based off of age.
I think so. I think people are aging out of collecting the Atari.
Dropping. You know, it's funny. I heard an interesting conversation about that. where they were running into a similar situation with Elvis collections. Like as people were getting older and dying off, the in-law, the next in kin would get all this shit, basically, not really give a damn about it,
right?
And suddenly they just flooded the market, and it's very similar, I think.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about we're collecting NES games still, this is probably the very, very, very peak of it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, you guys are blowing all sorts of money on that old shit.
I know. Well,
I was waiting for you to chime in, dude. That's great.
I can see my stack of Nintendo games right now, which they could pull a pretty good penny down, but they're going to end up getting pushed off to my daughter, or in other news, my son.
Congratulations. That is good shit.
Yeah, January. Little baby boy.
Let me...
Slow clap that. Thank you.
Hey, you get a heart too and a thumbs up.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I could see either one of those two basically just taking those to a pawn shop and saying, "Can I get $50?"
Yeah. I could totally see that happening for sure. Like, I always tell my son, like, oh, all this stuff, it's all gonna be for you and Emma. You guys, this is your stuff. When I'm no longer here. And he's like, "Can we go upstairs and play PS4, man?"
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He doesn't really care. Like, he knows of like his favorites, but overall, he'd be like, "Yeah, take all this shit out of here."
Yeah.
Well, did you tell him the value of it all? Because that might make him a little more interested.
Right.
That's a good point.
But then he'd have to sell it all right now.
Yeah, think of all the V-Bucks he can get for that.
Oh, that hurts my heart, man.
An entire history of gaming funneled into outfits in Fortnite.
Well said.
Oh man. God, I hope not. But
the only other game I wanted to bring up in terms of news, because I know you're playing it, Michael, is Hollow Knight.
Oh yeah, I stopped playing it, but yeah.
Man, that game is good and horrifically hard.
Yeah, that's why I stopped playing.
Jesus. I thought Cuphead was hard. This thing is stupid.
It's worse than Cuphead?
I can't even figure it out. I don't know what I feel like it's so hard I'm missing something. Like, I'm like, am I not supposed to be here? Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, I mean, everything gets compared to Dark Souls, but it's Dark Souls meets any Metroidvania game. Where, like, you just wander, and then you get killed, and then if you want all your shit back that you lost when you got killed, you have to get back to the point that you died.
Without dying.
Without dying. And a lot of the times you end up dying, like, at a boss and way end of a level, and you spawn all the way back at the start, and you have to go back through. It's very frustrating.
That's brutal, man.
It is a very punishing, brutal game. Like, I'm hoping I'm missing something that other people don't, like, miss, and then the game, like, has a nice slow progression of difficulty, but for me it's like constant, like, getting my butt kicked, and I feel like I'm pretty damn good at platformers, and this is kicking my butt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other good thing about it is you can change up your playstyle almost immediately whenever you swap out all your little trinkets or whatever they're called.
That's true.
Another pro tip for you, Jeff, if you're still playing it, if you have, like, because you only have a certain number of slots that can only hold so many trinkets. If you have, like, one slot left and a trinket that takes up 2 slots, apparently you can, if you just jam the button a bunch of times, it will actually go in and, like, nudge itself in. But then you also take, like, 20% more damage or something, but you get that trinket.
So it's a bug.
Oh.
No, it's not a bug. It's like a built-in thing built in for, like, frustrated idiots or something.
I didn't really...
It almost seems like a bug.
Well, it calls it... Like, no, I've seen it. Is it where it's called Overcharmed or whatever?
No, I don't think it's, like, listed in any menus or anything, or
actual
name.
Oh, okay. I mean, because I've done the thing where it says I only have, like, one more slot, and then I put it in, and then for some reason allows me to put an extra one. I'm like, I didn't think I had that, and I put it in, and then my whole like life bar turns like purple, and it says overcharmed and looks all weird. But I never recognized that I was taking extra damage, which would make sense why I'm getting my butt.
It was a thing that I saw on Twitter that everyone was like, "This is the coolest thing in Hollow Knight that they don't tell you about." And I was like, "Cool. I'm not gonna go back and try it, but good on you."
I don't know. Either way, I don't think that's going to make it or break the difficulty for me. I'm just getting my butt kicked.
Yeah. Speaking of butts and kicking, but not really, because there's no butts to kick. That was my transition. I've been playing No Man's Sky again with the big new update.
Yeah.
Aha.
How is it? Like?
I mean, I can see what took them 2 years to do to it, because they basically added multiplayer. They sort of changed the entire structure of the game.
Didn't they switch it from a third person to a first person?
It was first person, and it's still first person, but you can switch to third person now.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, there wasn't any character models and any animation or anything, and now they have full customizable characters, animation, and like the game is fucking great now. It's got multiplayer, so all of us can get online and just explore planets together or just go off and do our separate things. It's got base building now. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's basically Minecraft in space now, mixed with a little bit of Destiny.
I heard, I saw a tweet that it's like one of the most played games right now. So
Yeah,
that's really awesome. Like, you think about where it started.
Mm-hmm.
And how they just like fought tooth and nail to come back.
It was over 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. I did not think it was, but my last save file was 2016.
Man.
That's remarkable, man.
Yep.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, they did a great job. They turned that game around. Even though I liked the original, but this is like more of what they promised and everyone expected.
Super small team.
And if you own it already, it's a free update, and it's on sale for 50% off right now, at least on PlayStation. So if you want in, do it now.
Yeah, I may revisit it, just because I've heard it's it's like almost like a part 2. But
it's like a brand new game.
Yeah.
Because like I thought I'd just jump in and remember everything, but I mean generally things work the same way, but the way everything is structured is drastically different. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, that wraps up our news. Our games we're playing. Short little preclusion to the tippies. The pre-tip. The pre-tip foreplay.
The post-tip is going to be coming later.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, well, without any further ado, here's our series of animation tips. Again, please share, like, send it around, because, everybody likes a good tips episode.
Be sure to copy the time code when the tips start.
Yeah, and post that on YouTube so nobody has to. That's not nice.
It's just helping the people out.
Oh, okay. All right. Enjoy. A great technique to have a clear and detailed blocking can be the use of splocking.
Oh, I wouldn't say this is a tip. This is an entire workflow, but please go ahead.
It's a workflow tip. It's a workflow tip. Okay. Here's how I do it. All right, go about your normal blocking phase, right? You put your storytelling poses down for the entire shot. So no major breakdowns, no in-betweens, just the absolutely essential. But then, when you have those super solid poses all worked out, like every little part worked out, that's the key. These are the fundamentals of your shot.
Yep.
Then, when you're laying down your in-betweens and your breakdowns, you actually put all your keys to spline. or auto. So it like does the little like
Auto
plateaus.
tangent.
Yeah, auto. Yeah.
Yes. Go on. I'm palpitating.
You fucking dick.
I just picture his whole body just like boom, 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 like a throbbing cockpit is over there.
All right, so now as you're laying down those in-betweens while in spline mode, you scrub your timeline and you do additional playblasts and make sure you're spacing in, like there's no weird gimbals or flipping happening while you're laying down your blocking.
I get that quite a lot. I'm a messy blocker.
Right,
Same
this
here.
is the technique to reduce messy blocking. So you're scrubbing and you're making sure that you're not like using one spine joint to start the move and then another spine joint to finish the move because you're not really sure what you use to get each hero pose or main key pose. This eliminates that because you're seeing things flip and move and do funny stuff. Right?
Yeah, man.
So then as you're laying down keyframes, or sorry, in-betweens and, additional breakdowns, you switch the keys back to step.
Stepped.
And then, or you can even grab your whole thing and lay down keys every other or every third frame, depending on like the detail you want. And then you finesse those breakdowns. You finesse the breakdown poses after at least the kind of like the motion is somewhat right. Then you finesse it even more, making sure you have really still strong poses. Because that often when animators are splocking, they have a problem with strong poses. But this alleviates and you get the best of both worlds. The best of both
rest
worlds.
of both worlds.
Sorry, man. You try using this. Here, hold on. Use
What?
this microphone or the headset real quick. Just see
Okay.
what I'm dealing with.
All right.
It's not easy.
Should I do my preamble?
Yeah, talk in here.
Well, why do I have to go over here?
Because I want you to really know what it feels like.
Echo. I can still speak. Ask me anything. Ask away.
What'd you think about Xbox on E3?
Well, I thought PlayStation did mighty fine.
I didn't ask you about PlayStation. See? Fuck you. All right, so that's why I slur. I have a bad echo
So
in my ear.
So let me just put this out there, Jamie.
Wait, so that's
if
the end
for
of the tip? That's the end of the tip. You guys want to fucking clap or something?
When do we clap?
Just the tip.
I don't know.
When have-
You can't just leave it. Like, I feel like I didn't even finish. It just trailed off because I fucked up my words.
All right, then finish.
Block it.
All right, where was I? Tie down the key major breakdown. Repeat for your whole shot, and you should have a solid blocked shot that is prepped well for spline.
Whoa!
The animation tip this week is brought to you by Jin Kun. He did a great workflow video, and I started to use one of his tips, which is to do your storytelling poses and then take that into a software you can draw over the top and push your poses more with 2D, because when you draw over the top, you tend to be a lot more liberal with your choices and pushing... Wait, I can't say liberal.
No, you can.
Oh.
I'm just going to say, like, this is the exact reason why I always do my initial versions, passes, in with drawing.
Yeah. It's
Because,
good.
like, I don't even do my storytelling poses, which is probably better. I should do that, because I'm never on model. I just push stuff to the extreme, and I sell my ideas with.
That's
sell
good,
it.
though. That's good.
I sell it.
So I was going to say there's two ways that I've been using this recently. Was like you can shoot or do some initial thumbnails, get your ideas, take that into the reference room, do reference, and then do thumbnails off your reference to push the poses even further. Then do your storytelling poses in Maya or whatever 3D package, and then draw over them again. Cool.
And in 2 weeks, you'll have 4
Blocking.
poses.
I have liked it though. I have seen my poses like get pushed a little bit further and a little bit. I think actually even faster. Like I find the like sweetness a little bit faster.
Yeah. Getting into Maya would slow me down at first. I just like going straight into 2D. But That's my workflow, and this is your dumb.
Think how much faster you could be if you had a Cintiq at your desk.
Yeah.
That would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it would be. So that was the 15th animation tip.
Wow. If you're not a brilliant animator by now, keep listening.
Technically, if I'm really counting, though, even though this is episode 15, there's only been 14 animation tips.
You don't gotta say that.
I'm going to. Ron Pucciarelli, you repeated one of my tips. All right, you stop talking so then we can get the animation tip in real quick.
Bro.
All right, get the goddamn animation.
All right, what was it?
Nobody even listens to this.
Because I didn't write it down. I was just going to wing this one.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Acting in the reference room. All right, so I wanted to, give a quick tip about how to, make sure you're acting like an exact, specific person where your characters feel like they're a genuinely specific person that people have met before. And this came in really handy when we were doing Linda on Rio, which is, I felt like my reference was a lot better if I had a person in mind, a very unique individual. And so what I did is I recorded this person, or it works also with actors, people that you like. You watch clips of them over and over again right before you head into the reference room, and you mirror their gestures. So you're watching it, you're moving your hands in sync with them, you're moving your head like them. You're trying to basically emulate them and mirror them 100%. And then right at that point, that's when you jump in the reference room and you try to carry in those acting choices and that body language. And it also helps if you're doing that mirroring with a mirror, basically. So you have your computer or whatever that's playing this actor or actress, and then you have a mirror, so you're making sure your gestures are accurate, and then record your reference. I find that helps me a lot, making sure that my reference doesn't feel like me or the character is constantly looking like me. I want to make sure it feels like this other person. So I felt like that was a very handy tool, and I've carried that through with so it was a good friend of mine for Rio, for Linda, for Epic. We used a combination of a couple different actresses. Ellen Page at the beginning, but I think we abandoned that halfway through. Anyways, but it works really, really well. So that's the animation tip of the week.
So what's your animation tip of the week, Joe?
Joe? Jeff.
I said Jeff.
Swigging that scotch a little too heavy there,
check the tape on that.
Yeah, you can check it, you'll see.
The animation tip of the week is to use animation layers.
Cool.
Do it. You like me now, viewers. You thought you're getting a good tip. Just start using layers.
But they're so daunting, Jeff. Tell me how.
Well, animation layers are a good way to test supervisors' notes out and to be able to quickly mute and unmute to show them the before and after of each change. Not to mention, it's a free gimbal mover, such as you want to add in head nods? Well, simply just add a head nod onto a layer. If you want to tone it down, you can play with a single node called the weight of that layer. Interactive, fun, layers. They're the best.
Man, you're really selling this animation thing.
Man,
today.
it sounds like they're the sponsor this week, man.
Animation Layers, brought to you by Autodesk.
Animation Layers, brought to you by a very tired and old crotchety man.
Fucking bring up the energy levels. Woo! Ha! You go, get back.
Yeah.
So
Do you actually use animation layers? Like a lot?
Yeah, I do. Quite a bit.
All right.
The reason why I brought it up today is because we actually have interns at work right now, and they're splining a shot. They're both splining shots, and actually using the animation layers was really, I think it's a good way. Like, one of our lead animators was giving a note about the TY. Like, it feels like the TY is too soft on the body, like the up and down of the walk. Like, so I was like, you know what you should do? Have you ever used animation layers? Okay, the answer was no. So
Teaching moment.
So I said, well, why don't you just amplify, like put some extra TY, some up and down, and you can really exaggerate the curve. And you can see, like, instantly in your scene, especially, like, the character they're using runs real-time in Maya. So we can watch it, the feedback of the TY instantaneously, and then there's a weight toggle like on the layers. If you haven't seen that, you really should start using it. I think it's getting to be actually an old part of Maya now. It's been there for quite a few years.
Not that new.
But you can do this slider to play with the weight, and it'll like put it at 50% or 25%, and you can find the exact right feeling for your TY just using animation layers. And really intricate head nods, sometimes they can feel a little bit too jerky. They're super sensitive. So putting those on layers too is an easy way to make sure you can just put your Y, like you're nodding no, or you're nodding yes, your X on different layers, and then you can just play with the weighting of that and amplify it, and just nice, clean curves, keeping everything really easy to manipulate, and you don't change your underlying blocking poses whatsoever. So everything stays nice and clean, and it's really, really helpful.
That's cool. Pretty much all day today, I just spent all day frame by framing stuff to make it better. Instead, I could have done the head shit on the layers.
Could have.
But it's so complicated.
I have a question, because layers kind of, I use it very sparingly, and I use it that way because I get very confused sometimes. Do you have any notes or tips on how to deal with that confusion?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different actually properties and preferences you can set. So one of the key things I do is I make sure I name all my layers to exactly what they are. Just double click it. It helps a lot. Just say, this is head nod. This is translate body Y. And then make sure that one of your views, you can display your animation ticks on your timeline just to the animation layer that you're selected on. So that way you don't see like 10 different keys from 10 different layers, and you don't know which key is from what layer. It all looks very confusing, so you can just set it to the layer that you're actually on. And then I only add the necessary body parts to that layer, so I can't accidentally key the wrong body part. So if you only add the head mover to a layer, and you're on that layer and you try to key the arm, it'll actually not allow you to do it, and you'll immediately get a feedback, so you won't make any mistakes that way.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, I pretty much only ever put one controller on a layer.
Yeah.
Because I've tried doing, like, selecting all of the body controls or something on it, and it's just, like, a fucking cluster mess.
Now, what about in the instance where you have to, like, literally delete chunks of animation? And you have multiple layers across, like, how do you deal with that?
I tend to bake it down to a single layer and then start deleting frames that way. It gets messy. I hope that never has... Yeah. Something's gone terribly wrong if that's happening. I guess we should start with our animation tip of the week, right? Get that out of the way?
Let's do it.
Yeah, hit it.
All right. What was the tip for the week? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. Well, Trevor gave me crap for always having really technical ones, so I tried to think something not so technical.
I didn't know that was crap. I just was like, is it supposed to be technical?
Is it? It's not. Doesn't have to be like that, does it?
Is that your impression of me?
Yeah, that's mine.
No, your impression of you.
All right. So, in the vein of what Pete was mentioning about like burnout and like that, he was like surrounding himself with various things that inspired him as a kid. I did something in that kind of vein. So I was thinking, like, how do I stay focused? Because I feel like focus is a big issue, and especially like it's a big difference from when I was in college, when the most distracting thing would be maybe like instant message. There was no Facebook or anything like that. There certainly wasn't there was no social media really. Like the most you had is some like Yahoo groups and maybe some chat rooms, or I don't know. That it was pretty loose. There wasn't much there. But now I feel like with all the Facebook and whatnot, focus is a major issue. So for me, what helps is making miniature goals and basically making deals with myself all day long. So like promising myself, basically, I'm not going to check Facebook. I'm not going to look up from my desk. I'm not going to go wander for that extra cup of coffee or soda or whatever it happens to be for like until 10 a.m. Like I'll start at 9. Don't get up until 10 for like 1 whole hour. Or what I'll do is I'll put on like a music album or a movie, and I'll try to make it all the way through that movie or album, trying to stay focused. And even when there's a major play blast, either making sure I'm working on another scene file so I can just hop in between different scene files and work on multiple shots, or have a drawing that I'm working on that I can continue to go back to and refine a sketch that's continuing to help me with my animation as well. Because, focus, difficult.
I'm really bad at this tip.
I have a hard time with it too.
Yeah, I mean, because I find there's times where I get better at it than others, and the worst days are just when you say screw it, and every play blast you're checking Facebook, and the next thing you know is like, you're on Facebook or checking your email more than you are actually animating.
Yeah, that gets to be a problem.
Yeah.
Do you ever do you notice like when you're working on like a Cintiq or you're drawing that like that antsiness to like go over to Facebook or whatever, like that kind of disappears?
Oh, yes.
Why is that?
I don't know. As soon as you take away the 3D animation and you're just drawing, you're able to get in the zone so much faster. Let's jump straight into how we usually start every episode. Animation tip of the week. But we're going to do this one a little different.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be a little bit more of a Q&A. So I got to...
Not prepared.
Me?
Me.
Oh, you. No, I prepared, didn't I?
No.
Oh, I did. But you just didn't think about it then. I emailed you.
You emailed me?
All right, this is about...
Where?
Damn it. Maybe it was a text
I didn't
message.
get an email.
A text message.
I didn't get any of that.
All right. I'm not even going to bother.
This is my improv. Do it. That's
all right.
Improv, bitch.
Okay.
You can use it.
So I got an email asking like the scheduling, like how do you schedule your shots, and specifically like each part of animation. How much do you spend on each part? Like, for example, like thinking about your shot, or like coming up with ideas and then blocking and then splining and then polishing. Like what percentage is each one of those things? So as an example, let's go for like a 2-week shot. How many days do you spend planning, building reference
Well, I think
before
this
you
will be very different for Pete since he's on games and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well,
So-
because you don't exactly have a 2-week schedule on. Like nothing's 2 weeks, right?
No, everything's like, if it's 2 weeks, that's a long time.
Yeah.
What's the shortest bid that you could get?
Probably a couple
Generally.
days
a couple of for how much?
for something like a run or a,
Yeah.
you know, and it all depends on the direction, that's all based on what company you're working for at the time.
Yeah.
You know, some directors are very easy to please, others are not. But it's the same thing with film.
Yeah. So talking film, I'll give mine just real quick, and then Michael can chime in.
No, let me go.
Okay, fine. Michael's gonna go. He really wants to go first.
Just about the start of a shot, because after that it's all up in the air for me. But for a while at Blue Sky, we were trying to do a 24-hour blocking method where we would try to have an idea up to show the directors in one day. So you would get cast on Monday and you'd ideally show something on Tuesday. Unless it's a much longer shot, then you maybe have 2 days or something. But even if I have longer shots, I still try to get something done in one day. And usually that's a 2D pass for me. And sometimes it's a really awful 2D pass. It's really off model. Actually, all my sketch passes are off model, but that's on purpose. But so then I'll show that to just get my ideas across as fast as possible, see if I'm on the right track.
To directors or just soups?
Both. I try
24 hours regardless of the length of the shot.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hasn't been working out
Damn
so
it,
well.
Pete. You're hitting your goddamn mic every time you put down your beer.
Oh, I barely put it down.
Fuck off. That's 3 times, man.
Nobody's...
All right, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more.
No.
People are going to think
about
that's
that.
us doing it on this end.
Who
I have to call
cares?
Pete out on it so people know he's the fucktard.
No, that's just a dick move.
All right, go. No way. No, that sounded fine.
I think it's because I have these big springs on this extension.
That is what it sounds like. It sounds like...
Yeah, it's springy. It's a coil.
That's probably what it is.
Well, now we derailed that.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
You're going on 24 hours. You're showing directors, soups. That's going great. Mm-hmm. Then you move on to...
Blocking.
Blocking, yeah.
Yeah.
You were at blocking. Go.
I was?
I don't think you
You
were
didn't jog my memory at all about
No.
what I was trying to say.
Because once again, I wasn't really listening.
No. Okay, but then... Oh, I remember what I was saying. Sometimes, like, I try to do my sketch passes almost down to 2s for the most part, sometimes 4s. So in my sketch pass, I'm nailing down all my timing. So when I go into blocking, my timing is exactly the way it was in my sketch pass, but that's when I start nailing down on model-y stuff and figuring out, like, how the fuck to actually translate what I drew.
Well, I feel like
into
it's
3D.
interesting for people to know, like, when you're saying sketch pass, you're 2D animating your shot formally. These aren't thumbnails. You're using a 2D animation package
Yeah.
or software package to actually 2D animate your shots. And so then what do you do this for every shot, regardless of, like, it's a super simple acting shot, or it's like, I mean, I feel like
yes.
I feel like I know you in that you get cast much more physical shots.
Yeah, but I
general.
have been getting cast acting shots, which are not my strong suit. I'll be the first to admit that.
So then how are you sketch passing those?
Poorly. And that's why when I go to blocking, it's like, oh, this is like basically the first time we're seeing this, so we have a lot of notes. Even
So
though
then what's the... I'm writing you a little bit, but what's the hesitation of using reference instead?
So the reason I use sketch passes, which is probably more to do with the physical cartoony shots, is I push myself a lot more when I'm drawing than I do in Maya. So I feel like that should translate into my acting shots too, because I ideally will be pushing my like expressions and stuff too.
Yeah, cool.
So that's a thought on that. But it's also really hard because you can't like sketch in unless you're amazingly talented, like a subtle head shake or something. So like my sketch passes on acting stuff is always a lot bigger than it should be, and I always get the note to like tone down that sort of stuff, but it's just so I can get all of that in there and then fine tune it once I get into Maya. What are you shaking your head at? What did he do now?
Because I can so clearly hear him even scratch his arm. I wonder if that actually picked up on the mic in the podcast. Somebody's got to tell me. If just now they heard clearly Pete scratch his arm.
I just have a good mic.
You do,
Yeah,
man.
I'll move the mic back a little bit.
No, I like all the noises.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Scratch your arm now.
Your probably voice will sound like shit, but yeah, scratch your arm. See if it comes. Dear Lord.
He's just got really abrasive skin.
Why do we
Stop
have to...
riding him.
You and me are up on our mics. And he's like 3 feet away, and he's using the exact same mic as you are.
Now go into your shit.
But you didn't give you... Damn it, Pete. Jesus Christ. Here. All right, so, but break it down one more time very clearly in terms
I'm
of...
not being clear?
No. I just want the fact. 2-week schedule. You said one day planning.
Okay.
No, sorry, 1 day thought.
No. 1 day thought / sketch pass. All in 1 day.
Okay.
Because ideally, I've already been thinking about the shot before I actually technically start on it.
Because you think about it home.
No, because at the end of my last shot, instead of finishing that, I'm already moving on it. Whatever.
You don't think about your shot at home?
No, I have nightmares about my shot at home.
Yeah.
But I actively avoid thinking about it when I'm at home. Especially this last shot, man. Finally got a final today, though.
Good job.
Thanks. I feel like a real shit animator, though, and I have for a while.
That's pretty good. You come back from vacation, and a couple days later, you final a shot? It's pretty good.
5 days.
That's good.
Now, what are you guys allowed to say? What project you're on now?
Yeah. Michael's on... Go ahead and whatever.
I'm on Ferdinand.
Yeah. That's been announced.
It has been?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferdinand the Bull, yeah. That was the one we were talking about last week, that its release date got pushed to...
Another time.
What is it?
I think it was 3 months later, but I don't know what the original date
It's not
was.
next Christmas, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's not this Christmas, but next Christmas. Christmas of 2017.
Then I said, they're making a fucking Croods 2?
Yeah, that's... yeah, exactly.
I didn't listen to the last episode yet.
Oh, shit, yeah.
But Mindy said that was her favorite part.
I forgot you weren't part of that conversation. But yeah, we talked about Ferdinand being pushed last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
Yeah, so Michael's on that. I cannot talk about what I'm on, but it's the movie that comes after Ferdinand.
1 day, sketch pass. 1 or 2 days, blocking.
On a 2-week schedule. So you're
Yes.
saying by by Thursday, you're showing final blocking.
I never think of it as final blocking. I just show blocking.
Okay.
So I can get... Looks
Notes.
good, go to spline.
Okay. Or...
And because I
block
suck
again.
at splining.
Ah.
And I like all the time I can get on splining.
Okay.
Because Peanuts sort of ruined me.
And then when do you show your first spline?
It's due next Friday.
Yeah.
So I have this thing where I always try to get my shot in, show it for final the day before it's actually due. Just
good.
in case I get notes, then I can still get it in on time.
Yep.
So ideally, I'm showing my first spline pass on Tuesday, show again Thursday for final, and if I get it in early, I'm a god of sorts, of miserable sorts. The demigod. And then if I don't get the final, I show again Friday and get the final.
Nice.
That's my goal.
I'm not too far off from you, actually. So on a 2-week schedule, I probably spend 1 day, the first day reference, and we talked about this before, but I usually do a couple hero poses in Maya, look at the staging of the camera, blah, 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 but eventually come away that first day, I want solid reference by the end of the day, all edited together with a single clip that I can go to. Or a series of thumbnails, or sketch pass, or 2D pass, whatever that is. First day, that's it. Depending on the director, I show that the next day or not. I don't know if you feel that way, but there's
some
times
people
I don't
react to certain things better than others.
So depending on the director, I'll show that. But if not, then I'll wait until I have first blocking, and I'll usually get that in. I'll aim for a 2-week schedule. I'll aim to show on Friday morning for hopefully final blocking. And then I feel like I'm actually a little bit different than Michael in terms of it takes me longer to block, but I'm really, really, really fast at splining. So I will show final with polish and everything Wednesday morning, and in anticipation that I could get notes, or a final, and then I'll have all of Wednesday and Thursday for motion blur checks or new changes or whatever it needs to be, and then on Friday morning, the next Friday, the final Friday, it will be shown a final time with completely spit polished with any additional notes.
With blur and everything?
Yeah, whatever it needs to be. Definitely all shiny and perfect and ready to actually be sent through the pipeline. it's going to Fastmaster it or
the end of the day.
Final Anim, whatever we call it at Blue Sky, where it goes to other departments.
Into the pipe.
Yep, down the toilet.
Yeah.
This is great.
All right, so that was the animation tip of the week.
That was a good one.
Animation.
Oh, there was a second part of that though that I found interesting.
Let's hook into it. Into the matrix of the second part. Don't look at me like that.
Hey, no, there.
Don't look at me like that. What?
Shh. You're doing.
This could be a new running gag that no one will like.
I found it interesting. I know we're running long on animation this week, but the other half of that question I found very fascinating is like the time it takes to do an animation. The idea that it takes as long as it can take, like it's art and it'll take as long as it takes, that you can't artificially put a schedule or necessarily like. And a piece of animation could take as long as it's going to take. Is that a true statement or a false statement?
Who cares? Why would you want to work on the same thing forever?
There is a very real argument to that, I feel like.
Also, you're not going to get a job if you just have one nice shot.
There comes a point where it becomes overkill though, and it can actually have the reverse effect.
Yeah.
If you overwork something, you know.
Yeah. But I'm right there with you. I think, yeah, you can definitely like just continue to like want to just work. Man, you know what it makes me think of right now is like Delgo, the film we worked on. Like, I feel like that movie got beaten to death because it just wanted to be perfect. Like, I feel like the director wanted to make it perfect, and if we could have just got it out earlier, I feel like it would have even found a larger audience. But it was that thing. It's just like when do you know when to stop? It's very difficult. For an animation. I feel like that's actually it's a secret blessing with our harsh schedules in the world of animation. Is sometimes it can actually make you know when to call it quits and just make it as good as it needs to be rather than overwork something to death, you know?
Yeah, I like schedules.
And over time you'll end up being smarter about your choices and knowing what doesn't really matter. Something that might bother you personally as an animator, seeing this one little thing that's just not just perfect, nobody else will see. There are times like that too, where you have to just be like, okay, that's cool.
And Nick always says we like spend time polishing like the fucking toe splay or whatever, and nobody's ever gonna like notice the toe splay like we are when it's your own shot.
And it would be good we could try it. We could try to fuck this podcast up real good right now.
Let's do it, man.
You want to do it?
What?
You want to try to FaceTime Adam Green?
I don't even know who that is.
He's a supervisor at Disney. Let's just try it. Let's just try it.
I don't know him. It'll be awkward.
No, he's a good guy.
Let's see.
I'm sure he is. Oh, I hear. Oh my God.
Screw that. All right, never mind. That was sounding like shit.
What were you going to ask?
So now he's going to... All right, so basically I wanted him to talk about... There was an interesting article that came out with Disney just talking about that they don't necessarily have a whole lot of time in their schedules. Like, they are pressed for time, and they feel like a lot of their animation choices have come out of their schedule being pushed. And so they're limited to, like, one solid acting choice in a shot, or one solid pose, or one solid just great idea that they would need to make sure it reads, rather than doing a lot of fluff. And they have some misgivings about, like, yeah, we don't get to put all the extra stuff in the shots, but when you really look at like the finished product, you realize that they're just being really efficient, and there's a clarity and coolness to a lot of their recent films that, yes, their schedule's pinched, but it really does boil it down to a really nice idea that really reads. And I really like that and respect that about some of their recent movies and their animation quality. That it's just there's a byproduct to being stressed and pushed for time and schedules, and I don't really actually buy the idea that animation will take as long as it takes. It's a piece of art. The constraints are really what makes a lot of art really beautiful. Those restrictions, like if you're looking at like some of the 8-bit pixelated art. Like, all that comes from restrictions and holding back, and you have a certain amount of a color palette. You have a certain restrictions in the computing power. Like, all that creates this beauty behind it. It's really cool. All right,
Well,
I can tell Michael's bored.
I remember.
No.
I remember back a while ago, one of the story artists who used to work at Blue Sky came and visited from Pixar, and this was around Robots time, and he was talking about working on The Incredibles, and how they legitimately did the same exact thing what you're talking about, Jeff, where what mattered was the sequence and not necessarily the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Where you wouldn't see, like, okay, shot, reverse shot, beautiful blink head turn, and then something, you know what I mean? They made sure they got exactly what they needed without going overboard. Like, not like letting any one animator really embellish stuff like eye blinks, head turns, just to make it feel more natural as the sequence as a whole.
It's still gonna sound weird, even though you're calling somebody else.
Why?
What do you mean, why? That's how it works.
Pete, god damn it.
Boom.
Anyways, I was gonna
say boom every time I hit it.
But yeah, so I'm just going to back up your story. I was going to try to call Mike Walling to talk about his experience at DreamWorks, but he was talking about the same thing. Like, over at DreamWorks, the idea of showing sequences all together at the director is such an interesting idea that they would have a few animators all on a sequence, and instead of showing like each shot one at a time,
That's cool.
they would show wait until the entire sequences got like blocking, and they would show it in one solid chunk. So you get the feel of the entire sequence.
And if anything like stands out, then
Exactly. So you don't nitpick a 20-second shot over and over and over again.
20 seconds.
Sorry, 20 frames. Oh boy, yeah, you should nitpick 20 seconds. But 20 frames, a 20-frame like just blink or reaction shot or filler shot. Like, why nitpick the shit out of that when you watch it in the whole sequence and maybe it takes on a different meaning or different importance?
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm going through right now. It's like a reaction shot within a chunk of shots that I'm doing, but the other shots aren't ready, so I only could work on this shot. And it's... Boom.
I didn't put my beer down that time.
Yeah? What was that then, Pete?
This is big fat dick.
I literally touched the microphone with my hand. I brushed it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, you get grumpy when you can't concentrate.
I get grumpy.
So that's the animation tip of the week. Don't fucking disturb Jeff when he's trying to work.
Animation tip of the week. Long-term
PA
projects deserve... Oh, wait, hold on. I got Musica for the animation tip of the
Isn't
week.
that kind of your job now, though? To, like, be interrupted?
Yeah, it's true.
Nice, no.
Yeah.
No.
All you have to do is help others now.
No.
That's your duty.
No, my job is to crack the whip.
No.
That's how I see it. Oh, here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. Animation tip of the week.
I don't hear it at all.
I do.
Fuck. My audio. Whatever. Keep going.
Do you want me to fix it?
No, it's cool. Tell us about your animation tip of the week. Long-term projects.
Deserve short-term schedules. Goals.
Okay.
Schedules, goals. Yeah. I know this is redundant, and it kind of ties into some other stuff that talks about, like, staying on task. But I feel like it's a very important thing, and I'm noticing it more and more becoming a supervisor, is people tend to get a little lax when it becomes the longer the project or the longer the task.
The bid.
Yeah, you could say bid. But say a student's building a demo reel.
Okay.
That could take a year.
That's dumb. Don't take that long.
It could, yeah, well, at least 6 months.
Oh, you mean like doing shots for a reel?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I was like, they're taking
Not
a year
editing.
to fucking
No.
plop their shots into
No, I'm saying they're going to start, I need a demo reel, and I need to start over. So that's a long-term task. So I'm saying break it down. And this specifically ties to, I had that goal when I was in college. So I had 6 months to build a demo reel, and the only way I knew I was going to get it done is to micromanage it down to itty-bitty little small goals, right down to I got a calendar and wrote down, okay, I have 2 days to do block. Or at first I was like, all right, let's start a little bit bigger. So it was like, all right, I need an acting shot, I need an action shot, I need a cycle, I need this. So you bid that out. Then you have all right, I have exactly 3 weeks on each one. Okay, maybe I'll give an extra day to this one, I'll take a day from this one. And then you start saying, all right, I have 3 days to spline it, 3 days to block it, another day to polish it. Okay, now I have a certain day for the editorial section of it, putting audio to it. So you break it down. You can do that with shots that you have. And I think this is generally something that helps people become successful in all sorts of jobs, but it'll make it so you have little itty-bitty goals every day to make sure you're progressing to your ultimate goal. And I think a lot of people get maybe a little overwhelmed or intimidated by the size of the goal, but you've heard it a million times, but biting off a little chunk a day really makes it so you can ultimately achieve your goal.
I mean, that's not a very good animation tip. That's a life advice thing.
Yeah.
That's how I approach No Man's Sky. You got your bigger goals. You got you want to get to the end of the Atlas path, but you gotta get some more plutonium.
Are you still playing that for real?
Yes, I am.
All right, we'll start over. The animation tip of the week this week: tie the graph editor like plateau or spline or linear to hotkeys, so you can quickly spline your shot by saying, I'm going to make this one flat, I'm going to make this one spline, I'm going to make this one, and make sure it's all in your left hand, so you don't have to ever move your hand around and look down at the keyboard. You can just fly through the graph editor. There, are you happy?
I mean, you didn't have to do another one. I was just giving you shit.
So I was going to bring up the whole health and balance thing again, because it is important, and it's on my mind because I just had 2 spinal surgeries.
Let's go through this.
Yes.
How did all this happen?
It's a little confusing on how it started, or why my back went out, but it's definitely been exacerbated by the fact of how many hours I will string together sitting down at work. So that's not good. So I should have moved to a standing desk years earlier. I should have taken care of my body more. And I didn't really work out and exercise much until I was probably about 26, 27. It was probably too late. So I should have worked out better and taken more breaks and switched to a standing desk before it was too late. So anyways, I had a disc slip on my lowest vertebrae. So there's this nice little jelly that's in between all your vertebrae.
Yeah, get into those dirty details for all the
so
listeners.
All that jelly is there, so you can actually bend over, and there's room to flex, so you just don't have joint on joint, right? Which does happen to some people, and that's very painful. So you need the joints, or you need the jelly in between it, and that stuff can spill out, and it can tear. And if it does that, it can start, if it spills out in the wrong area, there's these things called nerves that tell your body how to feel. And if it pushes on those nerves, and it constantly tells your body you're in pain, then you have chronic back pain. And that's what was happening to me.
So then you had to get surgery.
So they scraped it out.
Gross. Go into more detail about that. I don't understand it.
They put a 1-inch incision in my back.
Okay.
They knocked me out.
Right.
And then they cut off some bone.
Gross.
And then they cut out the disc.
Okay.
That's how they described it was, imagine a jelly donut that has jelly spilling out.
Okay.
You can't push the jelly back in, but you can certainly scrape it off.
Sweet.
So they move the nerve out of the way, which makes the nerve real pissed off.
Inflamed.
Yes. So you wake up with even more back pain. But then they give you a whole bunch of opiates.
I did get a pretty good text from you after, I think it was the second surgery.
Yeah.
You went back to Colorado there for a second.
That's right.
Well, you're only supposed to have
a bunch of opiate.
You're only supposed to have one surgery, though.
Yep. So what happened is I was feeling good, went to the Retro Expo with Pete, and Pete saw me. I was doing all right. I was walking around. Like, I had to call it quits after like about an hour and a half or something, but that was enough. And then it was the Monday that I was going to go back to work, and I was going to go to the doctors and have them give me my little go home. But it didn't work out because I went to put on my socks, and the disc immediately, what was left of the disc, slid right back out, even worse than the first time, all in one go, and pushed up against my nerve, and I started screaming bloody murder and told my wife to come home and take care of me.
My wife was in the same room when your wife got that call, and she could hear you on the other end.
Yeah, I was not in a good state. That was the worst worst pain I think I've ever felt.
And
That's awful.
Wasn't it like a 3% chance that you would re-slip that disc or something?
Yep, and as I stand right now, there's still a 3 to 5. He upped it. The doctor changed his mind afterwards. So now he says 3 to 5% chance it could just happen again. And it feels good because I'm supposed to walk around and I get like small twinges that it's going to come back. So it's very exciting. We're like at the edge of our seat right now. What will happen first? My back will go out again, or my wife will give birth? Exciting.
I noticed you're not wearing socks tonight.
Nope, can't wear socks because I can't put them on.
Yeah, okay.
I'm wearing underwear because my wife put it on. I didn't shower because my wife didn't shower me today. So it's good life.
It does sound like a pretty good life. You made this sound all bad, like doom and gloom in the beginning, but then you're like, hey, my wife puts on my underpants.
The tip is, though,
Yeah, that is the tip.
Yeah.
Just the
Stay
tip.
healthy.
No thrusting.
Stay healthy.
Stay healthy. That's your animation tip?
Well, because there's a lot of people that don't. You see them at work. They overwork themselves. They work too many hours. And it goes into just like taking care of yourself overtime-wise, too. Because artists will tend to burn themselves out with too much overtime hours. We see it constantly. And how many times the people that pull the most hours, there are exceptions, but they're usually not necessarily the best animators either. Like, I feel like their work suffers once you get past the 12-hour mark, and that's a long day already. Yeah. Once you, like, it's a cliche to say it, but it's the, something returns.
It's a well-worn cliche that
it's
something returns.
Diminishing
returns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone shouted it. I heard you. Yeah, diminishing returns.
I agree. After a certain point, you're just fiddling shit to stay a little later and make a little extra dough.
Well, if that is why you're working overtime, then I have no qualms with that. Whatever. Well, that music means it's time for Animation Tip of the Week. Just because it's election night doesn't mean we don't have a tip. Okay.
You need a tip.
So, I may have talked about this before, but most of you don't listen to every episode. So, gotta do it again.
We just couldn't remember if this was a tip before or not.
Yeah, basically. But I find
professionals.
One of the best ways to speed up my animation is to... I know I talked about this. Fuck it, though. Right?
I mean, the people that do listen all the time... Well, we've got Diego. He doesn't give a shit about animation.
No.
He wants us to just cruise through this. So just cruise through
Okay. Splock. It's something I started learning later on in my animation career. And it's not even necessarily like splocking, meaning like splining while you're animating or while you're blocking. But basically while you're laying down your storytelling poses, make sure you scrub your animation or at least do some mild play blast just to check timing. This is especially useful for like walking and talking shots or action shots. Basically where a character is moving from one point to another point. Like just scrub your timeline, like especially if you have a low res version of the character. Because the main point, this was actually the real tip. See, I knew I'd find it, what I was actually going to talk about.
Great, good job. Not stalking at all. It is.
You don't want to get buy off on something that you can't deliver. Like, I see a lot of animators doing that, and it's very it's stressful. That's the biggest thing. Like, when you end up in your blocking, you can kind of cheat the timing, and you can kind of cheat a lot of things, and you'll be like, I'll fucking figure it out later. Well, not that puts a lot of stress on you, because when you actually check your timing and check the spacing, you realize you don't have the frames to do it, and then you have to rework an idea, and then something that the directors, maybe your supervisors fell in love with. Well, now you can't deliver on that, so you have to change midstream to a different idea, and then if they're left wondering, well, what happened to the thing we really liked? And then you have to explain, sorry, I couldn't perform and couldn't do it.
I get that in bed all the time.
Yeah. So basically, Splock, because you need to chickadee check yourself before...
Fucking elect Trump for president.
Yeah.
I'm distracted as shit. Back to the animation tip real fast. To go hand in hand with your thing, check the timing. I'm a pretty dirty poser sometimes. It's nice to just do a quick spline check to see if it like moves between the poses nicely before I add my breakdowns.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm not
that'll save you a
everything up.
ton of time. Ton of time. So, highly recommend doing that. It's definitely an advanced technique, because I feel like when you're early, you're just trying to move the character and get appealing poses and whatnot. But once you kind of feel more comfortable with that, make sure you're really checking the spacing and timing in between your poses, and it'll make you a much faster animator years down the line. And you know what? That will end up leads to happy producers and happy supervisors.
Well, Jeff made sure that I had an animation tip, so I actually have an animation tip. This is the first time I've given an animation tip.
I'm super excited.
It's not even really an animation tip. It's just a little thing that I learned last week that I didn't know you could do, and I actually haven't used it since I learned it, but it's still cool. Animation layers, we've talked about them before, and apparently this has been available for a very, very long time, but you can change the color of your animation tick marks in the timeline based on animation layers. It's like if you have a animation layer for the head, you can make the keyframes in the timeline purple or some shit.
I did not know that. I've seen green tick marks at people's desks and always wondered why.
Well, those are breakdowns, and I don't know how to use those. I don't use those.
So how do you go about changing the colors?
So in the far right, in the little attribute settings thing, there's 4 little buttons, and the far right button, and we're using, I don't know, Maya 2016 or whatever, so I'm sure it's the same on other versions, but the far right button is just like a little dot, and if you right click that dot, a little color picker comes up, and you can change the color of the keys.
Who knew? Not me.
Very cool.
Me either. And I was given a lot of shit for not knowing that.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, it's been around for like 10 years. Why don't you know that? I'm like, well, I don't use layers that much, but when I do, this would be great. So there's your animation tip, nerds.
They're the tips. We're back.
Good tips.
It's a future time.
Helping sync for Pete, but yeah.
Oh, okay. We're back to August 2018. Hope you enjoyed those tips.
What a ride.
What a ride.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a better
I'll never
animator.
forget all of those.
It's amazing that we still have 2 more of these to go, I think.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a while. It's crazy.
Yeah, compilation episodes. So look for those. This is number 2 of probably 4 or 5. So those will be coming up in the next year. So we'll be back in September for the beginning of football season. So Michael will talk about his picks to win Super Bowl this year.
Terrence Owens and Malik Davis, and they're the off-child of Terrence Malick, filmmaker. Offspring, not off-child. I don't know. It's late, man. Whatever.
All right.
And
Good stuff.
and I'm going out your way in August. So
Oh yeah, in mid-August, check out the Long Island Retro Convention. Pete will be there. Maybe
Yeah,
a miracle happen I can get there, but we'll see.
well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just, if I have to like knock you out and take you, then,
Just strap Mackenzie to the car.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Again, share and like if you enjoyed the tips, and we'll be back in September. So this has been just a few more minutes podcast where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that: animation, video games. Peace out.
Bye.